And quite unusually for what you see is going to be the Renault Twingo Cup race. Not often, actually not ever, we go to the starting grid for the Renault Twingo Cup, which is a great deal of shame. And today we have a special reason for it, because not only the regular drivers of Renault Twingo Cup are on the grid, but also a couple of other guys that you may rather see in machinery nearly 10 times as powerful, because we've got a lot of GT racers deciding to join the grid for this one Renault Twingo weekend. We've got names like Josef ZÁRUBA, Filip SLADEČKA, Bojan FORMANEK, Denis WASZEK. But you know, I would really like to give them or bring you interviews with all of them. But they got too carried away in yesterday's qualifying, enjoying themselves too much already. They used the grass quite a lot in the quali, which means they got their lap times deleted and they are standing on the grid all the way to the back. So we're not really going there because we don't have time for that. We'll try what we can. And it is Samo SLADEČKA standing on the outside of, or let's say inside of the front row. Samo SLADEČKA waiting, sitting in his car, and I think it's going to be an exciting race. Samo, if we can get a couple of words from you. You are here, special guest on the grid. How are you going to enjoy it?
Yeah, we are enjoying. We are here for the fun, so I'm ready to race and we will see what's happened. Okay,
cool. It's going to be exciting into the first corner. Let's make our way very quickly to the row number 2. On the inside, Tomas MIČANEK, MIČANEK Motorsport. Nazdar Tomáši. Tomas MIČANEK. And this feels incredibly like 15 years ago, a Volkswagen Polo Cup in Germany. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course. It was crazy times, you know.
And is it going to be crazy times today as well in the Twingos?
I think it's going to be more crazy than in Polo Cup, so I'm really looking forward.
Yeah, of your Zenit Cup happening, you are one of the luckier ones. The other guys got their times deleted and you're on row number 2. But what can we expect?
We will see, depends on the start, and I will try to push and finish on the podium, so we will see.
Best of luck, enjoy it. This is going to be fun. And you heard the whistle. We've got to leave the grid and we've got to make our way back to the broadcasting van. So thank you very much. Keep watching. This is going to be a big one.
are the smallest and slowest cars on your list. Well, they are slow, but they are good fun. Of course, amazing fun. Ooh, and there's a crash in the second corner already. That's car number 18, Manuel Fernandez. Oh, and that's a big crash. Ooh, and there's a big crash. There's actually a big crash. There is Rok Cerar. This is looking good for him. And there is a fight for the race lead. Cerar versus Mladenovic. Oh, dangerous. They are coming side by side through the last corner. Fabian a little ahead. This is going to be a photo finish of the BA Motorsport, guys. Who won? I have no idea who won. So welcome on the starting grid for the Renault Twingo Cup race number 1. Štefan Rosina making checks of his car, walking all around and trying to see if everything holds on properly. And he has reasons for that because, of course, bumpers, yeah, we might lose them. Headlamps, yeah, we might lose them in the race because this is going to be a crazy one. We've got an interesting lineup, 18 cars on the grid, and it is Matic PREŠA starting from pole, as quite a lot of lap times were deleted after yesterday's qualifying. Some of the drivers, mainly our guests, have started to enjoy themselves very much in the quali, turning it into a race already, and through that they forgot a little bit about things like, I don't know, track limits, staying on the track. And we're just, you know, really looking forward to this race because it's going to bring us a lot more of that, I hope. Mainly because the star guests, we've got them towards the back end of the grid, having got their lap times deleted, so we're expecting some catching up. But do not watch just them. Of course, the regular drivers, they are not slow, and they are definitely want to go and try to stay up front. We've still got the barrier repairs going on, so we're going to have to wait for a little longer for the race to start. And this is one of the guest drivers, Denis WASZEK. He's going to have it interesting, actually even more interesting than all of the other guest drivers today. Because actually this is not Denis WASZEK, this is an empty car of Denis WASZEK. Denis is somewhere around. Because right as this race finishes, Denis has to run and jump into his Lambo to start the GT race in the GTC class. So he's doing 2 races back to back. And yeah, that's going to be quite interesting to watch. We may try and make our way towards him on the grid just to have a couple of words on that as well, and maybe his immediate reactions and his immediate emotions after this Twingo Cup race. So it is Matic PREŠA ending up on pole position after yesterday's qualifying. Alongside him, Samo SLADEČKA on the front row. Behind them, Bojan PETRUSHEVSKI and Tomas MIČANEK. And there's actually no wonder that I asked him about situation 15 years ago, because that was also beginning of my commentary career back in 2009. And alongside the DTM weekends, we're racing other championships like VW Polo Cup. And this is Martin Kadlecík enjoying the Twingo 2 years back, then dominating Renault Clio Cup last season, and today watching over Linda FREY, who's done amazingly well, as this is her first ever attempt and first ever racing weekend. Not driven anything up until now, so she's up there with the boys, and it's going to be a tough one for her, but she's already making a name for herself. And alongside her it's Veronika ŽBOGAR, so 15th and 16th place, 8th row on the grid, also a very interesting one. But let's go back towards the front of the grid, Tomas MIČANEK, and we actually met back then in Germany, in the German races of DTM, because he was racing the VW Polo Cup back then, representing Czech Republic. Behind him, Zal REZAR, Nik POLJANEC on row number 3, P7 Anton JUS, P8 Vuk DERETIĆ, and in 9th Štefan ROSINA, who has driven things like BMW M6 GT3 also this weekend. He's also done, for example, the Porsche Super Cup, that is part of Formula 1 weekends in the past, and he is one of the former ESET Cup Series champions, no less. Alongside him, Filip SLADEČKA, so SLADEČKA boys represented on the grid towards the front and towards the, I would say, middle. Bojan ŠEME in 11th, and then P12 Josef ZÁRUBA, in P13 Denis WASZEK, and alongside him Bronislav FORMANEK from MIČANEK Motorsport. 4.1 kilometer racetrack, opened just last year, freshly homologated, and it is a new addition to our race calendar. Behind FORMANEK we've got Linda FREY, Veronika ŽBOGAR, and on row number 9 Jure HRZENJAK and Nikola JANČIĆ. So since we have time, we can also take a very quick look at the calendar itself, because we've got an interesting lineup for this season as well. And once again, we're going to have to differentiate a little bit in the calendars for the Eastern European TCR and the GTs, because they are different slightly. So we're starting the season here at the BalatonPark, brand new circuit, just next to the Balaton Lake. About what, around an hour drive from country's capital of Budapest. And mid-May we're going to Austria, to the Red Bull Ring, with all of the championships, and then the TCR ensemble is going to make a slight detour, as they are going to race in Slovakia for the first time this season. It's going to be the second weekend of June with the Slovakia ring race for the TCR World, and then we are back with ESET Cup Series in Hungary, 15th and 16th of June, Hungaroring round, then Lausitz Ring, so a German addition to the calendar as well. After that we're going to Autodrom Most in the beginning of August. After that, Slovakia ring round towards the end of August for the ESET Cup Series, and then the joint common round at Automotodrom Brno at the beginning of September, which is going to be the season finale for the GT part of the ensemble. But the TCR World is going to race on a little longer for their finale in Austria, back in Austria at Salzburg Ring. So lots of weekends to be looking forward to. Again, packed calendar, new additions, so it's great to see this entire championship to grow and expand. And we just hope that we get the green light for the Renault Twingo Cup race anytime soon. Everyone waiting on the grid, drivers actually out of their cars. 75 brake horsepower, by the way, so it's not really what you'd call power. But 75 horses, all of them honest and all of them excited, all of them really trying hard under the tiny bonnets of these Twingos. Mind you, if you look at the guys who race in GT classes, they are used to cars round about 8 times as powerful as the Twingos. So they're going to have to used to the fact that when they press the throttle pedal to the floor, not much will really happen. But that doesn't mean that not much will happen in the race itself. It's going to be an exciting one, make no mistake. And we're really looking forward to that. Now you have the chance to check the lid designs. Bronia Formanek, of course, nature is the theme of his helmet. Can't be otherwise, as nature is basically his life. And alongside him, Tomas MIČANEK and his helmet. And the drivers joining together. Well, we could have stayed on the grid for a little longer, actually. A little shame that we didn't get the info soon enough for the barrier to be repaired, because we at least could have made ourselves a tiny little podcast on the grid, actually. But never mind that. I think we're going to be rewarded anyway with a great race. Start delayed, as you see, flashing on the screen. And we're waiting for some piece of information from the race control. Let me just check if we've got anything that we can use. Online notice board. I've got a button here. Let's see what that does. Yeah, not like live race control messages. Anyway, 25 minutes is going to be the length of the race as usual. So the guys now meeting on the grid. And the excitement bubbling even more. Of course, not exactly exciting right now, but you know, everyone's really awaiting this. It's going to be great fun. So let's actually get back to the BalatonPark itself for a moment once again. Brand new track here in Hungary. Opened last year. 4,114 meters long. There's also an offset of the start to finish line of about 134 meters, which means that the start line, where the starting lights are, is way further ahead than where the finishing line is. That's the line that determines the end of the race. And you may remember last year we had a beautiful photo finish of 0.00 nothing in Most. That was a beautiful one, and we really needed that photo finish, well, the finish photograph to determine back then who the winner was. It's an anti-clockwise or counter-clockwise track, which is also not that usual. I would say didn't used to be usual in the motor racing world. If you check Formula 1 calendar, let's say 20 years back, you'll find only back then, what was it? Imola and Interlagos, the anti-clockwise tracks. These days, as more and more tracks are being built in the world, quite a lot of them actually, quite a lot of the new additional ones are anti-clockwise, and BalatonPark is one of them. 5-minute signal currently showed to all the drivers. I mean, unfortunately, we don't see it that much, but I believe that that's what the number is. 5 minutes. Yeah. And if you're racing, you know, stuff like Formula 1 cars with lots of downforce, then of course your neck muscles need to be really strong, because you're pulling incredible G's in the corners. And since vast majority of tracks around the world are clockwise run, then naturally one side of your neck is usually let's say, better trained than the other one. So if you then run the anti-clockwise track, you're going to be in a lot of pain if you don't really get used to that. BalatonPark, one of them, but actually not really featuring any of the high-speed left-hand corners. Most of them slow or mid-speed, and of course, pain in the neck shouldn't be an issue in a Renault Twingo. But pain in the grass could be. And if I just check the rest of the calendar, Red Bull Ring clockwise, so is Hungaroring, so isn't Lausitzring. That is actually one of the anti-clockwise tracks, and so is the the rest of them also running around the clock. Either way, drivers getting back to their cars, getting strapped in their seats. 5-speed gearboxes. The first gear not really used for anything else than just driving off, and the 5th gear not really used for anything, period, because we're not really reaching that high speeds down the straights to even thinking about engaging 5th. And it's quite an interesting challenge for everyone, because, you know, I just spoke to some of the drivers from the All-Star lineup, how they are looking forward to this race and how they are going to tackle on the challenge. Of course, they're used to driving at much higher speeds, and we were discussing even, you know, gears, things like gears, like if you just take for example the opening section of the track, it's twisty hairpins to open the track with, first the right hand one, then the left hand one. It seems that the Twingo is a little, you know, too fast through there for you to engage second, but too slow through there to engage third. So you've got to be creative. Maybe use a bit of grass, maybe skip some of the corners completely, which is what some drivers tried in the quali, and we'll see how they will tackle the race today. All of them strapped in their cars, all of them ready, as are we. So let's get going actually. Doors getting closed. The team members away from the grid now, and the drivers being waved away from the grid and onto the formation lap. It is going to take some time. Be ready for that, because the fastest qualifying time that was then counted, the lap time that put Matic PREŠA on pole position, it was 2 minutes 20 seconds, 0.2. By the way, 4.1 kilometers. That's one of the shorter tracks on the calendar, but still, it takes you nearly 2.5 minutes to make your way around the lap, and still there was just 1/10 of a second difference between Matic PREŠA and Samo SLADEČKA in the fight for pole position. Bojan PETRUSHEVSKI further 5 hundredths away from SLADEČKA, so incredibly closely fought quali, honestly. Tomas MIČANEK in 4th, 220.5. Then Zal REZAR, row number 3, 220.7. Nik POLJANEC, 222.0. And then we go further away, P7 Anton JUS, alongside him Vuk DERETIĆ. On row number 5, it's Štefan ROSINA and Filip SLADEČKA. P11 Bojan ŠEME, P12 Josef ZÁRUBA, P13 Denis WASZEK, P14 Bronislav FORMANEK, P15 Linda FREY, P16 Veronika ŽBOGAR, P17 Jure HRZENJAK, and P18 Nikola JANČIČ. I don't know if ever watched a Renault Twingo Cup race. If you have, then you know what you're going into. If you haven't, then I can only tell you it should be a lot of fun. Bump drafting, amazing tactic where you just simply push each other along the straight to go faster. Simple as that. By the way, even the slipstream works. I tried the Twingo a couple of years back in Slovakia, and you would be surprised. The slipstream works even on this tiny little boxy car, and it just sucks you in when you're slipstreaming past another driver. Of course, nowhere near as powerfully as with your GTs and TCRs and everything, and the Formula, single-seater cars. But of course, it still works. But the bump drafting, that's what we're going to see. And very often, what happens? You've got little groups in the race overtaking each other, but not just the cars, the entire groups. You can have like two snakes racing alongside one another, and it's not so uncommon that, let's say, the top 5 gets overtaken by the bottom 5 in the matter of a single straight. Tactics. You need tactics to succeed, and to just be fast isn't enough. You really have to go creative in Renault Twingo Cup race. Really, the attitude towards the race is usually quite a lot different than to any other category, and you've simply got to be smart and creative, as I mentioned. We're now making our way through the final sector back onto the start and finish straight, and with a bit of a delay as we needed time to repair the barriers after the crash in the Renault Clio Cup race, we are making our way finally back onto the start and finish straight onto the starting grid, and we are about to begin the cute little fun that is called the Renault Twingo Cup. So the green flag is in the air, the red lights are on, the red lights are off. They were very quick, and we are racing before we even noticed ourselves, and there we go, starting the Renault Twingo Cup race here at BalatonPark with Matic PREŠA in a lot of trouble trying to defend. He stayed on the grid a little longer than he would have wanted, and we already have smoke coming through. Oh, and lots of fights, and it is supposedly either Samo SLADEČKA or Tomas MIČANEK coming through into the race lead. We've also got Bojan PETRUSHEVSKI there. Ooh, and this is a car number 301. That is Linda FREY in trouble in the opening corner. And there we are racing along the back straight. It's going to take a little bit of time, but there is already a move lining up with Matic PREŠA trying to push his way through from third to the race lead. And down the inside we go now. Wonderful scrap. Some of the cars already cutting corners immediately. And I think that should be Bojan PETRUSHEVSKI. Through the chicane we go and into the hairpin with Matic PREŠA putting pressure on the race leader, trying to get back into the race lead. And around the hairpin we go. And with this beautiful drone footage taking us along the back straight as we are witnessing the fight for the race lead, some smoke, or let's say dust, in the background as one of the drivers made a little wider exit than absolutely necessary, and it is Matic PREŠA back in the race lead. Just to dab brakes where you would normally brake a lot with other cars. Not much of that need for the Twingos. And we make our way around the final corners. So there we go, back onto the start and finish straight with PREŠA leading. Across the line from Bojan PETRUSHEVSKI. Samo SLADEČKA in third, having his fight with Tomas MIČANEK. Vuk DERETIĆ in fifth, making a couple of places at the start and now making a move on Tomas MIČANEK. In the background we've got the fights unraveling. Štefan ROSINA made a couple of places up to 7th on the grid, while Filip SLADEČKA, Denis WASZEK, Bojan FORMANEK and these three have basically demoted Josef ZÁRUBA all the way back to 13th. More dust being kicked up. And there we go. Matic PREŠA trying to make a run for it, actually, and get away from everyone else, as we are enjoying a fight for third. That's Tomas MIČANEK. The car number 5, Samo SLADEČKA, actually currently third. Then it's already a fight between Anton JUS and Zal REZAR, and Tomas MIČANEK losing some ground, dropping down the order. To have a three-way fight into the chicane. No, Tomas was lining up for a move in that yellow highlighted Twingo, predominantly white, as the majority of them are. Down the inside he goes and into fourth. Beautiful move on Zal REZAR from Tomas MIČANEK. Ooh, but he may have overdone it. One of the cars wide on the exit. With Matic PREŠA leading. Štefan ROSINA losing a couple of places. He was 7th at the end of the first lap. Now he's down to P9, and there they are. Ooh, that's a very crazy moment for Anton JUS, trying to fight Bojan PETRUSHEVSKI. There is the car number 755. That's Anton JUS. Final sector we go, back onto the start and finish straight. Matic PREŠA really trying to escape from everyone else, knowing fully well that if he gets rid of that slipstream, he may well set himself on course for the victory. Nik POLJANEC in that predominantly blue car, and down the inside goes car number 8. That's Vuk DERETIĆ. So many Twingos next to one another in the first sector. This is getting a little crazy. POLJANEC in the blue car in the middle. I was going to say Matic PREŠA in the lead by around 3 seconds. And there they are. Look at that car number 11. Štefan ROSINA down the inside, trying to make a move. POLJANEC just made his way around the outside. One of the cars sticking it across the gravel. Bojan PETRUSHEVSKI in second. Then it should be Samo SLADEČKA and Tomas MIČANEK defending hard. There's one of the Clios spinning. Was that Štefan ROSINA? May have been. No, that was actually Anton JUS making a big mistake into turn 5, spinning and dropping all the way back. Vuk DERETIĆ holding on from POLJANEC. Behind him, car number 11, Štefan ROSINA with that red-colored bonnet. Then we have car number 73, which is Bojan ŠEME. And we've made our way through the chicane and through the hairpin and onto the back straight once again. Look at the lead that Matic PREŠA has managed to build over the rest of the pack. But still, it's just 1.7 seconds currently. PETRUSHEVSKI closing in. 2:21.0 from PREŠA on the last lap, which was the fastest one of the race so far. POLJANEC down the inside. Ooh, cars number 8 and 11, that's Vuk DERETIĆ and Štefan ROSINA, simply deciding not to do the chicane, not to really bother with it. and they both jumped. Nik POLJANEC. Across the line we go with PETRUSHEVSKI second. Behind him, Samo SLADEČKA. Vuk DERETIĆ up to 4th. Štefan ROSINA 5th. POLJANEC 6th. Bojan ŠEME 7th from... well, the graphic says PETRUSHEVSKI, but PETRUSHEVSKI needs to be put back. Yeah, there was a tiny little transponder issue that put PETRUSHEVSKI out of the order. He's now back in. No issues there. And we have an interesting fight around the end of the top 10. And we should really try and look into that as well, because that's where the fight is raging on as well. And that is actually our guest drivers. Filip SLADEČKA in 9th from Bronislav FORMANEK. Denis WASZEK in 11th from Josef ZÁRUBA. Ooh, that's a big mistake there from, who was that? Was Vuk DERETIĆ. No, sorry, that was Štefan ROSINA. Štefan ROSINA. Hard under braking, lost it completely, skipped through the gravel, now is losing more ground. Štefan ROSINA ran out of talent into turn 5, as they say. And this is now sucking him back into the fight with his mates, with the guys further down the pack. And they are enjoying the fight towards the back end there. By the way, PREŠA managed to set another fastest lap of the race. This is going to be 3 wide into the chicane. PETRUSHEVSKI around the outside, but it is Tomas MIČANEK making a beautiful move in his car number 55, taking 2 places in 1 spot, jumping Samo SLADEČKA and Bojan PETRUSHEVSKI in 1 go. Fantastic fight and a fantastic move by Tomas MIČANEK. SLADEČKA now kissing his rear bumper down the straight, and they are touching one another, pushing each other along the pit straight. Tomas MIČANEK taking the defensive line into the first corner. Samo SLADEČKA having to go round the outside, having also to make pay attention to PETRUSHEVSKI behind his back, and Tomas MIČANEK does it nicely to cover off Samo SLADEČKA and stay in second. A little further down the field we've got Štefan ROSINA dropping down to 9th, Denis WASZEK 11th, FORMANEK 12th, ZÁRUBA 13th. By the way, it is now Zal REZAR setting the fastest lap of the race in 7th, 2:20.2. We're getting close to that 2:20 mark. And here we go again, lining up for a 3-way fight behind Tomas MIČANEK. Contact between SLADEČKA and PETRUSHEVSKI. And Nik POLJANEC trying to see if there is anything for him to be had. And also we have Vuk DERETIČ together with them entering the fight. Now they are pushing one another once again. We could actually take a look a little further back in the field to check the fight, because we've got quite tiny margins between Nikola JANČIČ, Denis WASZEK, Bronislav FORMANEK, 1 and 3/10 between them across the line as we are nearing the halfway mark of the race, with Matic PREŠA. Amazingly, he's sort of Max Verstappening this race, as he's already built himself a 5-second of a gap and disappeared from the view. So he's nowhere, really nowhere to be seen on the cameras. There he was, his roof just cutting across the shot. But this is Tomas MIČANEK up into second from SLADEČKA, PETRUSHEVSKI 4th, POLJANEC 5th. Sorry, POLJANEC 6th, because we've got Vuk DERETIČ ahead of him already. And then there was the black Twingo of Zal REZAR. Sorry, that was Bojan ŠEME. Zal REZAR dropping down the order a little bit. Štefan ROSINA back up to 8th, fighting with Bojan FORMANEK. Tomas MIČANEK having to defend hard. Samo SLADEČKA trying to find his way through. But it's PETRUSHEVSKI up and through, but now he's been pushed wide and he's losing places in the process. So it's now SLADEČKA up into second from MIČANEK. Vuk DERETIĆ managed to stick his Twingo in the mix as well. POLJANEC looking at that from the back in his blue Twingo. Behind them it is Bojan ŠEME and Štefan ROSINA having a fight of their own for 7th and 8th. And further back, now they are lining up for a three-way fight. Look, watch out for your rear view mirrors. Tomas MIČANEK pushed wide and he was second across the line. Now he's all the way towards the back of this group. He cut the corner to stay in the fight. And it is Vuk DERETIĆ currently up to second. Fantastic fight, and in this five-way battle, the positions just swapping all directions, pretty much corner by corner. PETRUSHEVSKI trying to look down the inside, POLJANEC behind him. Then there's Tomas MIČANEK, second at the start of this lap. Amazing how the turntables turned. PETRUSHEVSKI being pushed along the back straight by POLJANEC. DERETIČ defending hard from SLADEČKA, locking a wheel in the process, skipping through the chicane. Yeah, he gained a little time through there. He shouldn't really benefit from that. And now all of the other guys are now pushing each other, or they were going to. Now side by side PETRUSHEVSKI and SLADEČKA. Also POLJANEC getting into the fight. Tomas MIČANEK trying to put his Twingo in the mix as well. This is going to be incredibly difficult for DERETIČ. He is having PETRUSHEVSKI down his inside. PETRUSHEVSKI goes through and tries to cover everyone off through the left-hander. Oh, there's a crash and DERETIČ being spun around. Vuk DERETIČ, who entered this lap in second place, is now being crashed out of this battle, spun around, losing a lot of ground. So that was a proper incident. That was a contact with SLADEČKA. And now it is POLJANEC fighting PETRUSHEVSKI for second, all of a sudden. While we have SLADEČKA having taken a fight to Tomas MIČANEK. Side by side they go, and now they are being also joined by their mate Štefan ROSINA, who was trying to look down the inside. Tomas MIČANEK closed that door very swiftly. Yeah, but really, Štefan ROSINA having none of that and skipping through the chicane, jumping Tomas MIČANEK in the process, and now enjoying his position. SLADEČKA defending hard, but he's already missing a headlamp. Ooh, SLADEČKA having to go through the chicane there with half the bumper missing, but who needs that? Because for the aerodynamic to work, you need to go dynamic. Big fight for second. Once again, PETRUSHEVSKI being pushed by POLJANEC. And PREŠA dominating the race. We've nearly forgotten about him. He's 8 seconds further down the road. Fantastic stuff from Matic PREŠA. Around the final sector we go. This is the fight for second. Štefan ROSINA up to fourth. He's dealt with SLADEČKA and MIČANEK, left them to it, and he's running towards the podium places with just about 8 minutes left on the clock. Big fight for second raging on. PETRUSHEVSKI defending from POLJANEC. Meanwhile, Bojan FORMANEK climbed up to 8th and he's right there in front of Denis WASZEK, who's 9th. Josef ZÁRUBA dropping down all the way down to 14th. In the meantime, we've lost Filip SLADEČKA, who only completed 3 laps, and then he was forced into the pits to retire, it seems. This is the fight for second. Poljanec trying to go left, trying to go right. They're going side by side, and PETRUSHEVSKI somehow managing to stay ahead in this fight. Ooh, and we've got further problems for Linda FREY. She's round in the first corner. Little bit of a problem for her. But again, gaining first ever racing kilometers, so she's definitely brave to join the Twingo Championship and doing well on her first occasion. Meantime, Poljanec managed to get ahead of PETRUSHEVSKI, probably exiting the hairpin on the final lap. We've got just under 6 minutes left to go. PREŠA leading from Poljanec, PETRUSHEVSKI third, Štefan ROSINA. Let's see his lap times. He is a couple of tenths per lap faster than PETRUSHEVSKI, so catching up, but in the process he's being disturbed by Tomas MIČANEK, who's fighting him now into the first corner. Štefan ROSINA off the track for a little moment, coming back on it. And Tomas MIČANEK, ooh, there's one car that's round again. One of the Twingos spinning as we entered the start and finish straight, but this is the fight. This is the fight of the guest drivers. Tomas MIČANEK is currently through. Štefan ROSINA dropping down one place and now under huge pressure from Samo SLADEČKA. And also Bojan FORMANEK getting closer and closer. He's already dealt with Bojan ŠEME, and he's now up to 7th. So Bojan FORMANEK, his Twingo seemingly still fresh, much fresher than these three. And the grey car is now in the mix. Samo SLADEČKA, the first man to go. And in the background with the blue car, that's Denis WASZEK. Bojan FORMANEK lining up for a move, sending it down the brakes and through the chicane. Very brave, yeah. Creative racing line. Don't really bother with curbs too much. Let's go and enjoy it. Through the hairpin we go, and it is Tomas MIČANEK who's through once again. But this is now going to be a four-way crazy fight along the back straight. So I assume it's still Tomas MIČANEK in the lead of this little group. Behind him it's already Bojan FORMANEK, but currently being attacked by Samo SLADEČKA. Štefan ROSINA under pressure from Bojan ŠEME. ŠEME making up one place. Tomas MIČANEK staying ahead. Bojan FORMANEK right behind him. And he's now lining up for a move down the inside. So look at Bojan FORMANEK. He really made a light work of all these drivers and just overtook them one by one. But pretty much over and across one lap. Fantastic stuff from Bojan FORMANEK, who's suddenly up to 4th. Tomas MIČANEK now being pushed down the pit straight by Samo SLADEČKA, so a three-way fight into the first corner. This is going to be a good one. MIČANEK down the inside, pushing everyone wide and off. SLADEČKA trying to still find some space down the inside, not managing to do so. Bojan FORMANEK lining up for another move. But he's having to watch this little fight MIČANEK versus SLADEČKA. 3 minutes left on the clock. Through the left hand as we go. Further bits flying off. I believe that was a piece of debris that was already on the road. Maybe one of the headlamp covers or maybe one of the rear view mirrors. Couldn't really see that properly from that distance. But Samo SLADEČKA missing a large portion of his front bumper, making his car lighter. Bronislav FORMANEK lining up for a move, and he's gonna do it. Really not bothering with the chicane too much. I've just seen the drone shot, and yeah, some of the guys just choosing to have fun rather than track limits. I mean, you know, if you want to follow the rules stipulate what you can and can't do on the track. But if you're not on the track, clever. Yeah, so SLADEČKA defending hard now again. FORMANEK round the outside. Tomas MIČANEK as well. Switching lines, and it's FORMANEK who's through. And SLADEČKA's car missing both of its eyes currently, so only the Renault logo somehow holding on. With the bumper dislodged. POLJANEC versus PETRUSHEVSKI. And we are entering the final lap of the race. MIČANEK sending it down the inside. This is Bojan ŠEME versus Denis WASZEK. Big fight into the first corner. ŠEME pushing Denis WASZEK wide and defending from him, but we are watching this fight, three-way fight for fourth place. Bronislav FORMANEK attacked by Tomas MIČANEK, who tagged him in the left-hander, entering the back straight behind the main grandstand. And as the time is ticking down to 0, this is Matic PREŠA. An evidence and proof for you that he still exists. He's just run away with it. Fantastic, absolutely dominating performance. Dominant performance, that's what I wanted to say. There is PREŠA. Okay, we can lose him for a little more because we still have big fights on our hands further back through the field. And it's still a big move, big moment between FORMANEK and MIČANEK. MIČANEK attacking. MIČANEK attacking. Let's go back to that fight. Three-way fight into the hairpin right now. Under huge pressure is Bronislav FORMANEK. It's still going to be an interesting one. Let's go back to that one and we come back to PREŠA later. He's just going to make his way around the final corners. There he goes. Matic PREŠA having started from pole, lost it for a little bit, but then came back and literally Max Verstappen the entire opening race of the season. Matic PREŠA victorious here at the BalatonPark. Then there's a big fight for second between POLJANEC and PETRUSHEVSKI. POLJANEC across the line and holding on to second. Bronislav FORMANEK trying to defend from SLADEČKA and MIČANEK, who is going to come across the line first in that scrap. And now they are over the line, and it seems to be Tomas MIČANEK with a bit of a photo finish. Well, just under 0.2 of a second. Tomas MIČANEK snatching fourth from Bronislav FORMANEK on the last lap. Samo SLADEČKA coming home sixth. Denis WASZEK P7, and he's going to have to run because he's starting a GT race in just a couple of minutes, and so are we. Then it is Bojan ŠEME in P8, Nikola JANČIĆ from all the way back off the grid, all the way up into top 10 and finishing 9th on the road. Vuk DERETIĆ in 10th, being spun round once. Anton JUS 11th with Josef ZÁRUBA finishing. I would like to say finishing, but he's still dropping down the order. It is Zal REZAR in 12th. And Josef ZÁRUBA seemingly finishing 13th on the road. Štefan ROSINA ending up last after those big fights towards the end of the race. Anton JUS in 13th, so it is Josef ZÁRUBA 12th. Then Veronika ŽBOGAR, Linda FREY, Štefan ROSINA, and the only casualty of the race being Filip SLADEČKA, who had to retire after 3 laps. So that was an interesting race, even though it was completely dominated by PREŠA. No pressure on him after the opening laps, where he had to fight for it, but once he snatched the first place back, he simply decided to run for it and never really looked back. So Matic PREŠA victorious in this race. From POLJANEC, Petruševský. That's the podium finishing places. MIČANEK 4th, Bojan FORMANEK 5th, Samo SLADEČKA 6th, Denis WASZEK, Bojan ŠEME, Nikola JANČIČ and Vuk DERETIĆ completing the top 10. So what a race this was. Great fights all through the fields. I believe drivers really enjoying themselves, and I don't know, we might have some results amendments for track limits here and there, so let's see what happens with the results, but I believe that everyone had fun. And we're now going to go on to a little more serious one. It's going to be the first GT sprint of the season. And so that is it. So that is it for the first Renault Twingo Cup race. Let me just tell you what the program is for a bit later on in the weekend. We've got the GT race coming up now. After that, the TCR race, and then after a lunch break, we're going to be back with Formula 4. And then a little later on, second race of the Suzuki Swift Cup, and then the 1 hour long endurance race to finish us off for the Saturday part of the program. Tomorrow we'll be back, of course, with more races in, for example, even Renault Twingos towards the end of the day. So that's it for now, and we'll be back very soon.